Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, the Board of Regents responds to the governor's proposed cuts to university budgets. And find out about a new center geared toward mimicking nature to help improve technology. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. U.S. Supreme Court justices today heard arguments in a challenge to Arizona's Independent Redistricting Commission and its drawing of boundaries for U.S. House seats. The issue is whether or not voters can take power the U.S. Constitution gives to state legislatures to draw those boundaries. The suit was brought by Arizona Republicans who were not happy with the latest maps drawn by the state's Independent Redistricting Commission. Arizona Horizon was in Washington today to talk to those involved in the case.
As our attorney Paul Clement argued very well, and as we've been pleading for many years now, the Elections Clause of the United States Constitution delegates that authority to the state legislatures, and we believe that that's our prerogative and that's where we need to be.
Clearly, no one could argue that these congressional lines that were drawn weren't partisan. And that's what spiked the concern about public impression about what was going on at the Independent Redistricting Commission.
We are pleased that several of the Supreme Court justices expressed concern about the problem of political gerrymandering and wanting to respect the will of the people. We do think that this issue of politicians choosing the voters rather than voters choosing the politicians is something that will impact on just about every single state if the Supreme Court decides to rule with Arizona legislature.
The justices today asked tough questions to lawyers on both sides in the case. An opinion from the court is likely to be announced sometime this summer. Arizona's 3 universities are expected to be hit hard by Governor Ducey's plan to cut nearly $78 million from higher education. Here to talk about the impact of the proposed budget cuts is Arizona Board of Regents President Eileen Klein. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us. 75, 78, it all adds up there. It's like 58% of the total budget just on universities. Your thoughts?
Right. It's not just the cuts that are on the table now, about $77 million in Governor Ducey's proposed budget. It's everything that's come before today, which is over $400 million in cuts during the Great Recession, $200 million in payments that are still owed, over $700 million in capital building renewal formula monies that have not been provided. So it isn't so much could we manage $77 million, that's tough enough. It's everything that it comes on top of.
I was going to say, this is an issue now, but Arizona's been cutting for years.
Right.
Is it just an enough hit the wall kind of thing here? Because we've been going through this, it seems like every budget.
It does seem like here we go again, but in the past couple of years, as the revenues increased a little bit for the state, the universities did regain a little bit of ground, which was helpful. The challenge is, and I know we're all frustrated that the budget's back in this situation, but universities are one of the last unprotected areas of the state budget. It makes them especially susceptible to being cut. And it seems now that they are the go-to place for balancing the state's budget. That's just not sustainable. If we want to have a thriving university system, it's certainly not going to be affordable for our families because we can't keep passing it on in the form of tuition.
A couple of specific things here that we've talked with you about and previous chairs as well, because this has gone back for a while. The idea of performance-based funding as opposed to student head, where does that stand and where does it stand with this budget proposal?
Well, it's something certainly that the universities would like to move in the direction of. We would like to move away from input-based funding and have the universities be recognized for what they're producing. Our degree production is up by 16%. Our state needs that. We need more qualified people in the workforce. Our research capacity, it continues to grow and we want it to. But really how we get funded right now is having to take a back seat to the point that we just aren't being funded at the levels that we need to be successful.
And as far as each university, why $40 million cut to ASU, 21 to the U of A, 13 to NAU? We'll start with the ASU 40 million there.
Well,
what's going on there?
Certainly the presidents, as you can imagine, have differing opinions about how the cuts should be applied. And the governor's budget just simply put it on an FTE basis. So the largest university, ASU is the largest university not just in the state but in the nation, they receive proportionally larger cuts. The board and the university presidents have agreed, though, it would be better just to give the cuts in a lump sum fashion to the universities. The university presidents can sit down with me and the board members and figure out what is the best way to allocate the cuts so that each institution continues to thrive, to the extent possible with the available state resources, and most importantly, that no one institution is disproportionately hurt.
I heard talk of that some programs at the U of A were being protected. Is that valid?
So the way the governor's methodology was applied, it actually did exclude certain portions of U of A funding or certain programs at U of A, but really that's less of a concern right now. I don't want to spend time having the state debate what the right methodology is for cutting. The point is people need to get engaged and help minimize the cuts to the public university system. We just simply won't have the growing economy that we need if the universities continue to face budget cuts. In truth, today the state only provides 25% of the operating budget. And while people think these funds are to support universities, they're really to support students and student programming. So every dollar that comes from the state is a dollar that we don't have to pass on to families.
Indeed, and I know that tuition hikes are off the table. What about next year?
Next year, and certainly while ASU has said no tuition increases, the board has said overall that they want to limit any tuition increases for our in-state students, but we have to contemplate what does it mean in terms of fees? What does it mean for out-of-state students? We have to be very careful with our pricing. Higher education today is more competitive than ever, and policymakers can't just assume that families can pick up the tab.
Is there, as far as the university handling these cuts, what happens? I mean, if this goes through as is, what do we see? What happens?
Well, let's talk about what happened during the downturn. So there were more than 2,100 positions eliminated. There were several hundred programs that were consolidated, or some of them just ended. So we're going to have to go through that same analysis to figure out what happens when we have $77 million less. And truthfully, I hope that we're going to stay under $77 million. There's been a lot of talk at the Senate that the cuts could even be higher, and that concerns me because ultimately there will be limits on what we can provide to students if we don't have adequate state support.
There seems to be a disconnect between the business community, along with the education community, and some folks in the legislature who were voted to represent Arizonans. You're saying this might even be a low level, a base level. What's happening there?
Over time, and certainly over the past 10 to 20 years, we've seen really an erosion of support for public higher education. There have been other competing factors in the state budget, to be sure. Medicaid. K-12 has maintained its position relatively. While people are concerned about the amount of funding there, they've really held their ground. But over time, this has all come at the expense of public higher education, and that's the concern, really. At what point do we draw the line? At what point do we say we have to find a different way? There needs to be a floor. There has to be a way that we guarantee a certain level of state support, really to be in adherence with the Constitution.
Some quotes here. Again, Michael Crow, the president of ASU, came out pretty strong in his opinion on this, and I know that not everyone agrees, but just in terms of thought processes here. The governor says that the government is going to have to live within its means. This is coming from the governor's office. Going to have to live within its means. Does he have a point?
The Governor Ducey certainly has a point, and he has a terrific challenge ahead, trying to right the state's fiscal ship. That needs to be done. It's important long-term for our state to be successful to have a balanced budget. However, it can't come at the expense of other elements of the state budget that really help the state's economy grow. Having more graduates, having more research capacity, those things really helped create a thriving economy, and that's what universities are there to help do. So it's important that we not, in the effort to balance the budget, shortchange our future by shortchanging university funding.
Another quote from the governor's office: Arizonans have to tighten their belt. They rightly expect the government to do the same thing, and they're talking to the universities there.
And certainly universities are living within their means, the way that families are doing it as well. Our concern is that we cannot simply see the state's budget balanced and have that result in a cost shift to families. So during the downturn, our students took on more tuition increases than any students in the nation. They and their families are having to pay more. At some point, there has to be a limit to that, and they can't be the ones responsible for helping the state balance its budget.
The governor's office also says it's wrong if special interests are not upset, and it sounds like some university folks are upset. Does he have a point there? Is he just basically saying, I got to do what I got to do. You've
Yes.
worked with governors before. You know how this works.
Yes, and every governor has that responsibility, and they're the one where they have to account for the people, how the entire state's being run, and that's important. So certainly Governor Ducey does value higher education. I want to be clear about that. The challenge is right now mathematically what to do when there's not enough revenue. Our point is that universities shouldn't pay a disproportionate share. They shouldn't be forced to really have to take on a bigger part of the budget balancing solution. The universities are willing to do their part. They're willing to make efficiencies, and they do. But they cannot simply be the de facto go-to source to balance the state's budget.
Do you question the governor's commitment to higher education?
I do not. I do believe that Governor Ducey values public higher education, not just higher education, but public higher education. And he's signaled many times that he is willing to talk with us about the longer term reforms we'd like to see for the state university system. We need regulatory relief. We really want to think about our operating model. We'd like to be able to design, for instance, a benefit structure that works for us for the long term, that's affordable. And he signaled a willingness to talk to us about all those things. I really think right now he has a first job that he must do, which is try to get the budget back in balance. And we're just asking for some temperance in how that's done.
Another question to you. Does this whole 75, 6, 7, 8 million, whatever it is, does it signal that higher education is a low priority in Arizona?
What it signals to me is that our resources are not protected like other resources inside the state general fund. So over the long haul, we need to decide how we are going to shore up public higher education funding. What will that look like? What will the guarantees be so that universities know what resources are coming from the state so they can plan against those? And the people who live in this state know that dollars are waiting for them so their kids can get a quality higher education.
That's what you'd like to see happen. That's what a lot of folks would like to see happen. It's not happening. And you prioritize what you think is the most important thing. It doesn't sound like higher education is the most important thing out there.
So it is. I think it's difficult really to assume the state's priorities, particularly in a downturn. You know, in an era of scarcity, only certain things can be moved in terms of the state budget. What we need to do is turn around the economy for the long term. That's why it's so important not to shortchange university funding, because universities are central to growing a state's economy by providing the skilled workers who won't just be available to work for employers, but who will create the new jobs. Our universities need to be able to research and transfer that knowledge, those technologies, into the marketplace. So it's short-sighted to, in the short run, remove all of the resources for the universities. We need to make sure that there is a level that we can sustain in terms of university funding so universities can be successful.
Last question. Critics will say that that's all fine and dandy. Let's go ahead and raise taxes, because that's the only way that the state right now in this situation, and since really 2007, 2008, all the way back there, can afford these kinds of things. Is it going to reach that point? Are lawmakers ready to reach that point?
Well, policymakers have made it clear this session that the votes are not there to raise revenues in order to balance the budget. So ultimately, that's what has us concerned then, that the cuts must be minimized to the university system, and that other cuts have to be considered. And again, universities are willing to do their share. They just can't be the solution to the state's ongoing budget challenges.
All right. It's good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Climb east along US 60, approximately 55 miles from Phoenix, and you'll come to a marker for Picket Post Mountain. Early Mexican residents called it Tordillo Mountain after small birds in the area. In 1870, the soldiers of Indian fighter General George Stoneman renamed it Picket Post Mountain for the sentinels they posted here high above infantry camp established at its base. Within 8 years, a town of 2,000 called Picket Post, later Pinal City, sprang up to work the Silver King mine, Arizona's richest silver strike, before it petered out. Today, thousands flock to the foothills of Picket Post Mountain to stroll through Boyce Thompson Arboretum, home to more than 6,000 plant species and 270 kinds of birds.
Expand your horizon with the Arizona Horizon website. To get there, go to azpbs.org. Click on the Arizona Horizon tab at the top of the screen. Once there, you can access many features, watch interviews by clicking on the video button. You can also find out what's on Arizona Horizon for the coming week. If you would like an RSS feed, a podcast, or want to buy a video, that's all on the website too. Want to learn about specific topics like immigration or the legislature? You can visit our special web sections. Show your support for Arizona Horizon at azpbs.org/Arizona Horizon. We want to hear from you. Submit your questions, comments, and concerns via email at arizonahorizon@asu.edu.
Nature's had billions of years to perfect methods that life on Earth uses in coping with the planet's conditions. In biomimicry, researchers use those methods to help develop new technology. A new cooperative venture launches tomorrow that aims to make ASU a key academic hub for biomimicry. And here to tell us more are the co-directors of the Biomimicry Center, Prasad Borodkar and Dana Baumeister. Good to have you both here. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us.
All right, so what is biomimicry again?
Biomimicry has been defined as emulation of nature's genius by Janine Benyus. And so essentially what we want to do is to look at how nature has been solving problems for billions of years, learn from that, and use it to solve human problems.
Is that, it's basically looking at nature and saying, that's a pretty good idea, let's take it further?
Absolutely, it's help, you know. As one of the species on this planet, we're trying to figure out how to survive here and do well and thrive, and why not ask the other 30 million species that are here today how they're doing it so well.
So give me an example of using nature to help develop new technology.
Well, the process begins by literally going for a walk and asking nature for help and advice and saying, I have a functional challenge, I have a need, and how would nature help solve that need? We're all familiar with something like Velcro, which actually did come from looking at natural seed burrs and how they stick to hair. But you can take that process and go beyond form and look at processes and systems to better understand how we can live more sustainably.
Is that when new technology is developed, or when there's a hunt on for new technology to do X, Y, or Z, how did it used to be nature was one of the last things you looked at?
Well, so design has gone through several stages. Nowadays, what design focuses quite a bit is this notion of human-centered design, that we are designing products for people, we're designing buildings for people. One of the things that we want to do with biomimicry is to take it a step beyond and say, like Dana mentioned, there are millions of other species that we can learn from. So we are mentioning that we should go from human-centered design to life-centered design. So problem solving in general has been focused on, let's use a new technology to solve a problem. Let's find a new design to solve a problem. We are saying, let's look broader and look at nature to solve problems.
So in other words, instead of, when you say human-centric, instead of saying, here's my concern, let's see if nature's got something for me, instead look out at nature and nature's got all this, pick and choose?
Yeah, there could be millions of solutions that we could look at and we could learn from. So instead of focusing it primarily on humans, which I think is a very myopic way of doing design, we focus on all of life.
And as far as now this new biomimicry venture that starts here tomorrow, what exactly is this all about?
Well, in order to practice biomimicry, you have to learn how to do it, and you need a lot of different disciplines at the table. So we've got two main components of the center. One is education-based, and so we have graduate degree programs where you can learn to become a biomimic, no matter what your background is. And we're bringing together disciplines from across the campus. So there's a space for practicing biomimics for business people, for designers, for engineers. Of course, you need biologists to help explain how nature works. And so a lot of what we're trying to do is to bring these transdisciplinary collaborations together.
How do you do that? How do you get all these disciplines working? I mean, you know, just working to get in the same room can be a problem. How do you get them working together all for a common goal?
So we have been doing this for a while. ASU has been a leader in doing transdisciplinary work. We've been running a program at ASU called Innovation Space, where we have students from industrial design, visual communication design, business, engineering, and sustainability working in teams. And so we have been doing this for about 9 years. And now what we've started to do is to introduce this methodology of biomimicry to this group of students. So not only can biomimicry inspire design, but it can inspire engineering, it can inspire business, it can inspire sustainability. All of that is part of what we're doing.
And it's fascinating to me because you hear about ancient Chinese herbs and stuff that have been used for centuries and millennia even. It's out there. How do you know where to look and what to look for?
Oh, that's a great question. That's exactly what I've been doing for the last 20 years, is trying to answer that very question. And actually, biomimicry is interesting because it's an emerging discipline of an ancient practice.
Yes.
So we've kind of forgotten that we have these advisors around us. We've surrounded ourselves with concrete and pavement and air conditioning, and we forget that we're not the first ones living here trying to figure out these pieces. And so there actually is a methodology and a systematic way to go out and ask the natural world, and that's why you have to come and get some education around it.
Yeah, and I saw a quote here that biomimicry thinking is a skill for 21st century careers. True?
Yeah, we think sustainability will be even more and more important as we move forward. And we think this is a really promising methodology and a philosophy by which to practice sustainable thinking. So students who might gain this knowledge of learning from nature and solving human problems might have an edge over other students in doing what they do.
Yeah, and as far as the venture and the kind of the opening ceremony, it's going to be a TED Talk there and all sorts of hands-on.
We have 18 faculty lined up from across the campus that we've paired together. So no two faculty are from the same school, and they will be talking about initiatives that they're currently working on and what they might be working on. We have some faculty that never even met each other before this event that are coming together.
And I guess performance artists are doing stuff as well, so it's going to be quite the hullabaloo, huh?
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. Well, good luck. Congratulations.
Great.
It sounds very exciting. Good to have you both here.
Thanks for inviting us.
And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.